Hello, I'm Bess Herbert from the Global Initiative to End All Corporal Punishment of Children, with responsibility for leading our work in Asia and the Pacific region. Congratulations on such an important conference to take forward our understanding of children's rights, child protection and family welfare. The programme is really impressive and I'm so sorry that I can't be there with you in person. However, I'm really pleased that I still have the opportunity to share with you some of what we understand about the key role that prohibition and elimination of corporal punishment of children plays in transforming social norms around violence in child rearing and education. Everyone has a fundamental right to respect for their human dignity and physical integrity, and to protection from all violence. Ironically, the smallest, most vulnerable and dependent in our society, who are in greatest need of protection, guidance and respect, are often afforded less protection than adults from violence. International human rights law is clear that the use of corporal punishment violates children's rights to respect for their human dignity and physical integrity, as well as their rights to health, development, education and freedom from torture and other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment. The fact that in so many countries corporal punishment of children is legal, while it is prohibited against adults, is highly symbolic of children's low status in society and reinforces the view of children as possessions rather than individual people and full rights holders. Corporal punishment of children can affect people on a very personal level and has usually been a very personal experience. In many countries, corporal punishment remains a deeply embedded traditional practice, a habit passed from one generation to another as part of the child rearing culture. Sometimes it's also supported by religious beliefs. In order to address this toxic social norm, the legal and social right or duty of parents or other carers to hit children must be challenged. Under the Sustainable Development Agenda, all states have committed to ending all violence against children by 2030, target 16.2. Ending corporal punishment, the most common form of violence against children, is key to ending all violence against children and reducing violence across the whole of society in the longer term. The Inspire package, which provides a framework for ending violence against children, highlights as its first strategy the need for laws that ban corporal punishment of children by parents, teachers and other caregivers. Prohibition of corporal punishment in law is the essential foundation for reducing its use, which must be implemented effectively, including through society-wide measures aimed at changing social norms and attitudes around violence in child rearing. The process of transforming society's behaviour in child rearing and education and its view of children to seeing them as full holders of human rights who cannot be hit and hurt in the guise of discipline does take time. If states to achieve substantial reductions in the prevalence of violence by 2030, they must urgently reform national legislation and work to make prohibition of all corporal punishment of children a reality now. So, what does research tell us about corporal punishment? Corporal punishment is the most common form of violence against children in all regions around the world. On average, around 80% of children worldwide experience some form of violent discipline at home, and an estimated 1.3 billion children aged 1 to 14 experience it every year. Younger children and children with disabilities are particularly vulnerable, while older children are often exposed to more emotional violence. Experience of corporal punishment can be gendered, as girls and boys can experience different types of punishment and may be punished for different behaviours. The dangers posed by corporal punishment are significant and far-reaching. We're aware of over 250 studies which have found associations between childhood experience of corporal punishment and a wide range of negative health and behavioural outcomes. No study has found evidence of any long-term positive outcomes. In addition to direct physical harm, an ever-growing body of research links corporal punishment with poorer mental health, brain development, moral reasoning and educational outcomes, as well as increased aggression and antisocial behaviour and damaged family relationships. Many of these negative outcomes persist into adulthood. Research has also shown that much child abuse consists of corporal punishment, and that all violence, including light corporal punishment, carries an inherent risk of escalation towards more severe violence. The message from research is clear. The legality of corporal punishment undermines child protection. It reinforces the idea that a certain degree of violence against children is normal or acceptable. And far from teaching children how to behave well, it teaches them that violence is an acceptable way to resolve conflict and that you can get what you want by being bigger and stronger and using force. Normalising violence among children in this way can potentially have a significant impact on the level of violence in families and the wider society, and therefore the cumulative beneficial effects of eliminating corporal punishment can also be very significant. Ending corporal punishment is therefore an essential element in creating societies which are overall less violent. Positive changes in attitudes and practice in child rearing following prohibition of corporal punishment is strong. This can particularly be seen in the Baltic Sea region, where a number of countries have conducted comparable research before and after law reform. In Sweden, there's been a consistent decline in adult approval and use of physical punishment since prohibition was achieved in 1979. Around half of children were smacked regularly in the 1970s, which fell to around a third in the 1980s, and a few percent after the year 2000. The change was achieved through a wide range of measures implemented across policy sectors, including a national public education campaign run by the Ministry of Justice before and after law reform was achieved. It included the delivery of a brochure to every household, and information was also posted on milk cartons to raise awareness among both children and adults and to encourage discussion within the family. The campaign resulted in a very high level of public awareness. By 1981, 90% of Swedish families knew about the new ban on corporal punishment. Similarly, in Finland, the prohibiting legislation was accompanied by a public education campaign, resulting in a high level of awareness of the ban. Adult acceptance of corporal punishment declined consistently from 43% in 1983, when prohibition was achieved, to 34% in 2002 and 13% in 2017. In Germany, the number of young people reporting that they had been thrashed fell from 30% in 1992 to 3% in 2002, 2 years after prohibition was achieved. And in Poland, where prohibition was achieved in 2010, approval of spanking fell by 32% over an 8-year period, from 78% in 2008 to 46% in 2016. Evidence of the harmful effects of corporal punishment and the benefits of implementing prohibition make very compelling arguments for ending its use, but it's important to remember that it is primarily about children's human rights. Since Sweden became the first country to legally ban all corporal punishment in 1979, global progress towards prohibition has accelerated. In the last 12 years, the number of states banning all corporal punishment has more than tripled and now stands at 54, with a further 56 states having indicated commitment to achieving a complete legal ban. More states have made progress in prohibiting corporal punishment in settings outside the home. 166 states no longer allow corporal punishment as a sentence for crimes committed by children. Its use is prohibited in penal institutions in 140 states and prohibited in schools in 131 states. Despite this progress, however, only 10% of the world's children live in countries where it is fully prohibited in all settings, including the home. So, what is required to achieve prohibition and elimination of all corporal punishment of children? Well, the law must be absolutely clear that any form or degree of physical punishment or any other form of humiliating or degrading punishment is unlawful in any setting. Corporal punishment is often so widely accepted in child rearing that it is often not even regarded as violence. For this reason, it's not enough that laws simply ban violence or abuse against children. They must explicitly prohibit any level of corporal punishment in all settings, as well as repealing any laws that allow for its use. The ultimate aim of prohibiting corporal punishment is not to criminalise parents and carers, but to prevent children ever experiencing violent punishment. Changing the law is a necessary foundation to achieving a shift in mindset and social norms by sending a clear message that it is no longer acceptable to use violence in child rearing. Changing long-held attitudes and practices requires sustained effort, so plans and funding should be put in place for long-term and recurrent activities. nationwide public education campaigns should be conducted, aimed at children, parents, carers, and those working with children to raise awareness about the negative impact that corporal punishment can have on children's health and development. Support for parents and information about positive parenting and the benefits of non-violent parenting strategies are also central to stimulating changes in attitudes and behaviour. These are some of the ways we're able to transform social norms around violence in child rearing and move towards violence-free societies for everyone. Finally, I'll finish with a few words about us. The Global Initiative has mapped the legality of corporal punishment worldwide, and we use this information to submit briefings for when states are examined under the Universal Periodic Review and by the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child and other treaty monitoring bodies. We also support international and national partners with information and offer technical advice to governments and others. This includes assistance, drafting prohibiting legislation, facilitating national law reform workshops, and developing campaigns to achieve prohibition or implement a ban. We have a wide range of resources freely available on our website, including a summary of research findings and a series of booklets answering common questions about banning corporal punishment. Thank you so much for your attention today. Please do email me at bess@endcorporalpunishment.org if you have any questions or would like to know more about my presentation. Thank you very much.